I understand that the community, the press, the citizens want to see the body camera evidence in this case. However, I don't stand here as Charme Allen the person. I stand here as Charme Allen, the elected District Attorney General, whose job is to protect the criminal potential integrity of this case. I agree that the community has a right to see this. I agree that you, as the press, have a right to see this. It's just a timing issue. There are rules abundant as to why I can't release this footage. And there are reasons for those rules. I don't want to skip over the fact that those rules are there for privacy rights. We also have to protect the due process of law. If someone is ultimately charged with a criminal act, they are allowed the right to due process where the case cannot be tried in the public or in the press prior to it being tried in the courtroom. There is the possibility, because of these laws, if we release this body cam footage, there's the possibility that we could violate a law to where we could not use it in the trial if we were to go to trial. And ultimately, that's what we want in the criminal justice process. We want to determine whether or not a crime has been committed, and if a crime has been committed, we want to be able to produce the very best evidence we can possibly produce at the trial phase, because we want to hold those guilty of crimes accountable. If we can't use that evidence to hold them accountable, the evidence is no good. So every single time I will err on the side of the law. TBI is investigating this case. They collect all the evidence and they present that evidence to my office. They are still early on in the investigation and the collection of evidence. Let me reiterate that in this case. Once they collect that evidence, what happens is they then send all of that to our office. My office, once I have the evidence, is then charged with reviewing all that evidence to determine whether or not a crime was committed. Here, no question, there was a homicide of Anthony Thompson. Our job is to determine whether or not that was a lawful or an unlawful homicide. We use TBI's evidence to do that. One of two things can happen once our office makes that review. If there is a criminal charge that is levied, what happens is we indict that case, it goes to trial, and the evidence, including the body camera evidence, is protected until we go to trial. And it will be released at trial as evidence. And so everyone will see it at that phase. If the case goes the other way and we determine it is not an unjust or unlawful homicide, that if it is a justifiable homicide and there are no criminal charges, what happens at that point is the same thing that we have always done in these officer-involved shootings. Many of you have been a part of this in the past, where we have cleared an officer-involved shooting. Our policy and procedure has always been at that point to have a full and open press conference where we release all evidence. We go over it with you. We show the evidence. We explain the evidence. We answer questions until you have no more questions. That is what will happen in this case. If we determine there are no charges. If we determine there are charges, it'll go to trial. That's when the evidence, all the evidence, the forensic evidence, the statements, and the body camera evidence will all be released at the same time.